All right, so I'm officially launching phase 4 of my early access style library. And phase 4 launches with the New Hope, um, the training remote mini game. So this is the first mini game that's being added to my style library. It's a long time coming. Mini games are extremely complex, so it took me a long time to both not only design the mini game, but to also make it so the library could support it for users to download. But I have a separate video on how to set it up. Um, this minigame is completely sound-based, so Jesse at Kyberphonics graciously donated all of the necessary sounds for this minigame. They will be available via download on the Early Access Library. So if you choose the New Hope minigame, um, in the minigame section there will be a link to download the sounds that Jesse has donated to us. So these are only for my Early Access patrons. And they are only the sounds for the minigame. So you'll download this folder of sounds. The style code will tell you where to put them, but they can be added to any font you want to allow you to use the minigame. So you can add the minigame to any style you want via the library, and then you just need the supported sounds in the font for your preset. So there's a lot of different options. There's a lot of customization built in the minigame. I'm just going to give a quick demo. So I'll do a quick demo just of it. So the basic concept is based off of the New Hope scene on the Millennium Falcon when Obi-Wan is teaching Luke to first use a lightsaber and have the floating training remote. Being sound-based, what's going to happen is there's a number of quotes, and again, these are the sounds that Jesse has donated, so big thanks to Jesse. But there's a quote to start the game off, and then immediately after the game begins, there's different types of sounds. So the first group of sounds is going to be the hisses, the little remote sounds as it moves. You'll hear those. And the second group of sounds is when the remote actually fires at you. The mini game, the goal of the mini game is to get 3 successful blaster deflections before you get 3 misses. So if you miss, meaning you don't swing when a blaster sound plays, it will be a miss. Now there's a lot of customization in how the style works. The ones I've set up, if I miss, there's going to be a small red symbol that'll appear on the blade temporarily. That means I did not respond in time. If you're successful, you'll just see a blaster deflection. So by default, the minigame uses your standard blaster deflection sounds and your blaster deflection effects that you've set for the style. If you get, so this mode, and again, there's many options, but this mode that I'm going to demo, you have to get 3 consecutive successful blocks before you get 3 strikes. So if you get 1 block but get a strike, you still have to get 3 consecutive blocks. If you get 3 strikes, the game will end, and when the game ends, it will automatically retract your saber. Now, you can reignite your saber, you can try the game again, and then the last piece is there's actually a special hidden style in this code, and this style, I've set it up to be a slightly different color, but you can choose any color you want. There's actually multiple prize styles you can do, but a lot of information will be in the library itself as well as in the video on how to set it up within the library. So I'm going to turn the saber on. I'm going to go into the minigame. You will hear a quote from Obi-Wan when I've started the special ability. This one's set up for special ability 1, but you can set it up for any of the special abilities you want. And then I'm just going to play the game, and I'll purposely miss so you can see what the miss is like, but then I'm going to try to win it. And basically you have to, so the way the reaction works is, if you swing before the blaster sound, you have to reset your blade to standing still, or roughly still. If you're just moving it around and the blade is swinging before the blaster fires, it's going to automatically be a miss. Also, you only have you have just about a second to react to the blaster sound. So if you swing late, you're also going to miss. So you want to listen. There's going to be hissing sounds. They're randomly selected. The number's random. The blasting is random. So this is all randomized. But when you hear the hissing sounds, they are different, so you want to get used to the different sounds. You'll hear the hissing sounds as the remote is imaginarily moving. You don't want to react to those. You only want to swing when you hear the remote firing. And as I play it, you'll hear the different sounds. Jesse did a great job with the sounds, so they are very distinct. You'll be able to tell once you've heard a few of them which ones are the remote moving and which ones are the ones you're supposed to react to. But let's go into it. So I'm going to ignite. So as I said, this is set up to be special ability 1 on me, so I'm going to go into special ability 1, and then I'm just going to let the sounds play. I'll let the hisses and the first blast happen, and I'll let it show you the missed symbol, and then there's also a quote from Obi-Wan if you miss. But then I'm going to actually try to win the game so you can see the prize. So here we go.
With the blast shield down, I can't even see. How am I supposed to fight?
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him.
So that was a miss.
Don't trust them.
Now I'm going to try to block it. Oh, I was late on that one.
Stretch out with your feelings. I suggest you try it again, Luke. This time, let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
So it actually fired 3 consecutive randomly, faster than I was ready, which happened. So I lost and the saber automatically retracts. Now I can turn it right back on. I'm going to try it again. This time I wanted you to hear the sounds, particularly the hisses and the blasts. But this time I'm just going to try to win it. I'm not going to let it miss. I still might miss because I did make this game slightly challenging. It's not overly difficult, but I didn't want it to be so easy. But let's go in.
Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force.
So I have to swing at the blasts. So I won, and if hopefully the camera picks it up. I have this set up to be a different color blue, and there's actually a slightly different blade effect, and that's your prize. So now the prize is active for as long as this preset is active, and you can choose the prizes, you can choose the color, you can choose. There's a couple different ways to win. There are different ways to set up if you miss. You can also choose not to have visual effects for all this stuff. The most important thing is the sound files, as I said. Those do have to be in the font. In addition to special abilities, I also have the minigame set up as an interactive Preon. So let me switch over to that. But so if I turn this off, as long as I stay in this preset and I obviously don't cut power to the board, my prize style is active. So once you've earned your prize style, unless you turn off the saber fully, like cut power, or if you change presets, you keep that style for that entire time it's active. It is still a temporary style. So you do have to win the game in order to unlock the style. The unlock only lasts as long as the saber has power or you're within that preset. But let's go into the next preset. So on this preset, I've set it up as an interactive Preon. It's exactly the same game. The difference being, with interactive Preons, when I push the button to ignite, it's going to jump right into the minigame. So the saber's going to ignite. It's going to begin the minigame. Now, because the minigame automatically turns your saber off if you lose, what that means is by setting up as an interactive Preon, in order to use your saber every time within this preset, I have to actually win the game. So this is kind of like a fun mechanism, particularly if you want to give it to your friends. If they want to actually use your saber, you got to tell them, hey, you got to win. You got to actually successfully complete training in order to use the saber. Now, the interactive Preons is really only pushing the power button to ignite. If you have gestures enabled, they will bypass it. So just so you know. So if you really want to lock the saber so that you have to win the game, you're going to want to set the presets up with the interactive Preon, and you want to disable the gesture ignitions. Gesture ignitions bypass interactive Preon just by their very nature. Now you can also set up the minigame to run on special abilities 5 through 8, which is the same as an interactive Preon, but that means that you actually use a special ability ignition versus the standard ignition. But this one's set up so if I just push my ignite button, it will ignite the saber and it will begin the minigame right away. And I'm just going to let it loose and it will turn my saber off. And essentially, that means I can't use this saber. It won't be unlocked until I actually win the game. But since we've already seen what the win looks like, I'm not going to put that onto video. But let's ignite it. I'm just going to let it do all the sounds. I'm going to let it it's going to miss 3 times and then the saber will turn off. And you have to win the minigame in order to get past this Preon. Oh, I didn't change presets. That would help.
You better get on with your exercises.
Alright, so this is the interactive Preon preset.
Remember, a Jedi can feel the Force flowing through him. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. Stretch out with your feelings. I suggest you try it again, Luke. This time, let go your conscious self and act on instinct.
So as you can see, by setting up as a Preon now, every time I ignite, it's going to do the same thing. So you have to win to unlock it. And you, again, set up a prize if you want it. If you just want it to run the basic style, you just don't add a prize to the minigame. But all the customization, the setup, as well as the sounds and everything, I have a separate video on how to do that in the early access library, so definitely check that out. I'll link it in the description of this video. That's going to be important. The setup, particularly of the sounds, is probably primary. If you don't have the sounds, you're not going to be able to use this minigame. And again, I've said it a number of times, but big thanks to Jesse. He did us a solid by donating the necessary sounds for this minigame. They are available to everybody in my early access library. So when you go to add the game, definitely download those sounds and add them up. If you want to use different sounds, if you want to build your own sounds, if you want to customize the sounds, you are welcome to. The information will be included with the style code. But if you just want to get off the ground running, watch the video on how to set up the minigame. But then you can just get your style code, customize it, add it to your config. Just make sure you add the necessary sounds to your font, and you can start playing with it right away. So I really hope you enjoy. This is a long time coming. This is probably by far one of the biggest projects for me on the library, and it is only for early access. So for the foreseeable future, for quite a while, the mini games will only be available through early access on my library. There's just a lot involved, both in not only designing them for ProffieOS, but it took me longer to design the library to support them than it did to get the style code working, because I wanted to allow users to really be able to customize it. And I have a lot more features coming. So the initial launch of Phase 4 actually has a ton of stuff, but there's more. I just had to kind of draw a line in the sand and say, all right, I want to get this development launch. But I do have a lot more stuff that I will be adding probably over the next couple months to Phase 4. So Phase 4 will be running for a little while with a lot more stuff coming. I do have some other mini game ideas, but at launch it will be a New Hope training remote mini game, which kind of set the standard for everything going forward. So all other mini games I develop, I want to make them very similar to this, but just different interactions, different ways to use them. So I really hope you enjoy, and definitely check out the early access library. Thanks a lot.